Hey there, Jay Kreshel here, and I wanted to take a quick moment to walk you through the approach that I would take to build a program for Thoughtspot. Now, the approach that I took here for this particular exercise is a three-step process. First is I wanted to understand the criteria that you had as what you're evaluating someone on for this organization. Second is I chose a scenario that made sense to me, which was creating a new AI feature for your customers, which is great. And then third is I built out actually a readiness program, and I have a full document that you can look through if you're interested in that. Now, the approach that I really take for this information is I use the ADDIE framework or methodology for learning development. Now, this, I presume you already know all this stuff, but analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. Each of those stages or phases through the methodology help me organize my mind and how I'm doing the work that I'm doing. On the analysis side, it's getting the information up front, understanding what the particular problems are, the objectives that we're trying to achieve, the gaps, the skills, the risks, all those things that we're looking for. The design is actually creating the content and the learning for the of what we want for our users and our learners to get. Third is the development piece, which is the creation of the assets, the change management, the documentation, anything that our users are going to use to be successful, tools, systems, processes, get them all in place and ready to go. The fourth piece is implementation. Now that's rolling this thing out, getting it out there, doing the change management live. It's rolling out the program, facilitating events and efforts. And then evaluation is how we're going to measure this information. Taking it a step further, I think this is probably the most important thing. Despite or independent of all of the information that we're looking for in terms of developing a program, there's really five things plus a bonus that really hone in the success of a program. And I'll talk through those real quick. The first one is just the knowledge of the technology. Like I would need to come in and really have a good understanding of what that technology is, so I'm confident and competent to deliver that message, that information. I'm a quick learner. I can pick it up fast. I'm looking forward to that. But you really have to know. I would really have to know the baseline of the technology. What are the features? What are the products? How are they? How are they delivered? Why are they delivered? What's the value proposition of them? I want to be able to translate that information as you requested, but I need to know what those values are, so I need to get that first. I need to understand the users. What's the ICP? What's the user profile? Who are these folks? Where are they coming from? What is the customer about? I would want to know that. And then practice. Would need to get my hands dirty and get into the system and play around and understand how our customers are going to use it, how our go-to-market teams are going to use this technology. And then finally, with the advent of AI, it's like there is a lot of underlying technology, whether it's from engineering overall or AI based, that I would want to understand and make sure I understand that core technology. Now, how do we do that? It's going to take time and it's going to take practice. That's just what it is. The second pillar that I wanted to talk about is around partnership and the relationships with people. Yes, understanding the products are important, but really I would need to understand who the people are and having a relationship with them, connecting with them, so I know whom I can talk to about what, whether it's the PMM organization or product leads who are helping me understand the product, helping me translate that information into value, so we know that they know the value of the product. I would need to get that information from them, make sure I have my clarity there. The go-to-market leaders is a second really, really important piece. I would need to know the leaders well and have a relationship with them. They're the ones who are going to help me create the talk tracks. They're the ones who are going to know the timing and what they need for their users, and making sure that we're going to provide them that information to be successful. The third piece is like the customer success and implementation team. Both of these organizations are super knowledgeable about the implementation of our solution. How can we help them help us build case studies, build live examples, build demo environments to help make sure that we're delivering something that they're really going to need. Same on the sales engineering side. Like, these are the folks that really are impactful and really have their hands closest to the customer. And then the sales enablement team. Like, there's other folks on this team who have processes, products. And they also know the calendaring and the schedules for their audiences. We need to make sure that we're aligning with them along the way. So these relationships are important. And then, of course, the marketing, then maybe a graphic design team, creating slides, creating UI, creating assets that we can have included into the content that we're going to create. Now, how do you establish those relationships? Who are you going to connect with, and how do you do that? SKO is super important to make sure that we're meeting people, understanding them, doing coffee chats, having phone calls with them, going out and visiting them in seat road shows, go to Chicago, go overseas, wherever it needs to be, go have an established relationship with these folks. The next piece is an AI upskilling program. Like, AI is such a big and important part of this industry, this space, this technology. I have a whole design for a program that I think would be really beneficial. I don't want to jump the gun here, but like, we need a strategy for the enablement use of AI. We need a strategy for how we design the expertise and experiences for the go-to-market teams, make sure that they understand how to use the technology, how to learn it, how to practice it. We need to have something available for them. And then we have to have some guidelines around them for how it's supposed to be used, make sure they're enabled on that, whether this role kind of takes on that technological understanding of supplying that. And then connecting with company level experts, making sure that we're aligned across the board, creating kind of a paradigm for what the learning around AI is within this organization, and then bringing in external content as well. The whole concept of agentic AI and other areas of technology that are evolving, we need to make sure that we're providing them with an understanding from external sources so they can have a full picture of everything. And then incorporating AI into all of our content, whether it's the use of the technology or at least make sure it's integrated in or interwoven within our onboarding and everboarding programs that continue to get the go-to-market teams smarter. Now, I'd love to take ownership of that program if that's available. We would need some budget to make it happen, and then time. It's going to take time to get the team up to speed and get the program up and going. The next pillar is really around the business metrics and aligning to those business metrics. So we know from an enablement perspective how that aligns with the metrics for the business. Like, we need to understand the business outcomes, working with the RevOps team, working with the enablement leaders, the business leaders, to really understand what that is, what their goals are, so we're making sure that we're aligned. And then making sure that we've got a good baseline of knowledge and baseline of success for the team. We want to make a growth in their abilities, and we need to know what that baseline is first, so we can then enhance it and move on to the next. And then if we have those targets and goals, we can look at some of the lagging indicators or leading indicators as well to identify what the success of our teams are individually, so we can modify them as we're going through the learning for the program. And then, of course, we want to make sure that we're tying those KPIs to the programs and making sure that we're aligning that way. And that's going to be important. And how do you do that? You do that through a partnership with a bunch of the leaders across the company, and then getting access to the systems and tools and the data and the live boards and all that other information that we're going to need to be successful. The next one is really important too, which is the barrier of success. Like, what has worked in the past and what has not worked in the past. I don't want to come in being all presumptuous saying, look, this is the only way to do things. There are areas where enablement has been successful before. There's areas where it's failed. I want to know what those are so I can make sure I avoid those roadblocks and or build bridges over the areas that we have found as successful. There's also been impacts of learning from external sources and forces around the company. So we need to make sure that we know what those are as well. And then if there's any issues or have been any issues with enablement in the past, whether our enablement leaders have found that we're working too quickly, or we're having too much content, we're not having enough content, we're missing the boat, we need to make sure that we understand what those are from the enablement team and understand what those barriers again are. And then there's some other areas that we are strong at. I mean, maybe we provide good technical detail. Awesome. Let's make sure we're leveraging that, especially if the team enjoys or appreciates that, and if it's adding value to their teams. And then anything that's improved over time, we can kind of evolve that through as well, that we can kind of keep those things running. And then Probably the most important one is getting the best practices from the CS teams and the enablement teams and the customer education and the content and the tools that they've already created. Let's make sure that we have the information from the leadership side and we know what they find successful so we can leverage that and continue those interviews with those leaders, interviews with those individuals, with the go-to-market teams themselves will help us do that. And then also capturing the data and writing that down and making sure that we're tracking that. And then the bonus one here, which I think is also really important, is we need to have an understanding of how the product will be delivered and then tie that to a strategy for enablement. So if maybe in my mind, it could be like a tiered program, a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Tier 1 is in just getting the teams informed, like this is information, these are rollouts that only require a very base level of knowledge, versus a tier 2, which is a more engaging piece that we need to make sure that we're getting fully on board with them and make sure the teams are getting educated on. Or maybe it's a super deep, big rollout and it's going to require a tier 3 level, which is super deep. It's going to require a lot more information, whether it's around certifications, gamification, peer-to-peer practice and stuff like that. So we need to create an alignment with the leadership, alignment with the go-to-market teams of here's what we're expecting, as well as with the product teams. Here's what we're expecting for every release, and then here's what the content that we provide. Here's the delivery strategy, here's the infrastructure, here's the curriculum approach that we're going to take, here's the assets, here are the assets that we're going to be building across which tier and making that ready to go. So that's it. Those are the 6 things that I think are really important for that. Here you go. And then here is a quick video that I created using AI for
Thoughtspot's the name.
Thoughtspot.
Analytics our game. For every enterprise, we're changing the frame. Fact-driven world is what we ignite. Ask any question, get answers in sight. Explore your data, go deep, go wide. Actionable insights, right by your side. With speed and precision, we help you grow. Business gets smarter, now you're in the know. Say hello to Spotter, your agentic guide. With AI smarts right by your side. Natural language makes it a breeze. Decisions on data done with ease. At scale with trust, we make it right. Secure and clear, day or night. On web or mobile, we've got your back. Insight on demand, no data stack, slack.
Well, there you go. I hope that was informative and informational. I really look forward to working with you guys in the future, and I hope you like that video as well. Happy learning.
Thoughtspot's the name, analytics our game. For every enterprise, we're changing the frame. Fact-driven world is what we ignite. Ask any question, get answers in sight.